Dianah Kamande. I'm a survivor of domestic violence that led me to becoming a widow. I'm a mother of 2 children. And this is my story about my journey. I got married to a very good husband, according to me, because I had a dream of starting a family. And when I was going to college, I remember meeting this young man. By that time, he was a matatu driver. And he used to take me to college. Sometimes he could buy lunch for me. And when we started the relationship, then he could take me out for dinner, sometimes take me out for lunch. And life was so good. And we organized with him that I was now going to get married. And I remember he told me to go and come back with my clothes. Because I sensed my parents could not have agreed, my parents knew that I wanted to continue pursuing my higher education, but at the same time, I had fallen in love. So education and having fallen in love were 2 things that I had to battle with. And this one won now. The one of falling in love is the one that won. So I went home, my parents were in church, I decided to carry my clothes, and at that time, now I became a married woman. And then God blessed us with a firstborn child, and after some years, God blessed us with another child. And before I gave birth to the second-born child, I remember I had told my husband that I would want to go back to school because I really wanted to continue pursuing higher education, because he had gotten me while I was in school, and after I finished my certificate course in teaching, I told him my desire to continue and pursue a bachelor's, master's, and then I would continue even have my PhD because I liked education. And when we had discussed about that, later on, I came to realize that I was already pregnant. There was nothing I could have done. I had to give birth now to our second-born child. Life was so good. For sure, even our children never knew if we even had any family problems. One, for me, as a young girl who had already gotten into marriage, I was ready to let my marriage work. And him, he was so loving, but it's love that later on I was told by counselors that he was not loving, but he was insecure. But to me, I interpreted that my husband was very loving. So we had good life. And after 10 years in marriage, I remember is when now the worst happened. My husband all this time, he had never hit me. He had never even used verbal abuse on me. But just one day, it was on a Friday, I remember very well, 19th of April, 2013, we just prepared and left for work together. By this time, he was working in Lavington, and myself, I was working in one of the private NGOs in town, and we left for work. When we left for work, I remember he's the one who asked me, because he used to drop me at my place of work, he could come pick me, so I had no time even to interact with other people because my world was limited to my children and my husband. And to me, this was okay, because I felt after getting married then, I should have a small world. This was just a feeling because my husband had introduced me to that kind of life. So to me, I was very okay. Then when he was leaving me in town, I remember as usual, he asked me whether I had money for lunch. He even cracked a joke and said, sometimes women, even when they have money, they don't tell you they have money, so you can have this money for lunch. We just parted ways very well. And I reminded him that next day we had a wedding in church. One of our friends was getting married and our children were part of the flower girls. So I told him, I'm going to leave town early because I have to go in church and then go back home because we need to prepare our daughters in advance. He had no problem. He just reminded me. He had tried to put a rule, which was working, that from point A to point B, I had to make a call. So to me, I just decided to follow the instructions because furthermore, he was my husband. So when I was leaving the office, I called him. I told him I am going to church because we have to some preparations because of the wedding tomorrow. And then I'm going back home because I need to prepare the girls, we need to iron their clothes, and I need to help my house help so that we can at least do a few things very fast, because we are needed in church the next day. We were needed in church the next day very early in the morning. So I left town, went direct to church. On my way from church going home, I remember he called me and he asked me, "What is for dinner today?" I told him the girls had requested me, now our children, they had requested me to do rice and beans. This is a question that he had never asked me. He was always comfortable with whatever I prepared for, either dinner or lunch, whenever he was at home. He told me, "Go and prepare me ugali and fried meat," as he said. So I passed by the butchery, bought meat, went, prepared, did everything, and put the food in the hot pot, covered with foil paper, and we continued ironing clothes with my house girl. This particular day, my husband came back home. I remember he knocked the door. He was like banging the outside door before he got into the living room door. We had a gate and then another door. So he, first of all, like banged the gate. And when I heard that, I was asking myself, who is this that has come? To an extent that I wanted to assume, but I decided to peep through. There was one of our doors, the living room door, had a glass, so I could see through. It was like a kind of a glass that you put on the window panes. So when I saw it was him, I was wondering what is happening with him, that today he has decided to knock the door like there is something that is wrong. I went to open the door, and as usual, the girls came running. They used to come running to receive him. And when he saw them, he told them, "Can you go back to your mother?" He never even greeted me as he used to do. So I was wondering what is wrong with him. I remember my children asking me, and I told them, maybe Daddy today had a bad day at work. Let's give him time so that he can relax. He went direct to the bedroom. He didn't even say hi to my house girl, who was part of our family because we had lived with her for so long. And I decided, let me go to the kitchen, warm the food, and then call him. And then as we share the food, he's going to tell me what the problem is. When I went to call him, he told me he didn't want my food. Then I wondered, he is the person who told me what to prepare for dinner. Now he says he doesn't want food. So I decided just to cover the food, put it on the dining table, and left him in the bedroom so that maybe he could have some time to relax on his own. The children were here questioning me, what is wrong with Daddy today? We have never seen this. And finally, I had to give them the same answer that I had given them. Daddy had a bad day at work. That is the reason as to why he might be in that mood. I went and started helping my house girl to fold some of her clothes, some of the clothes that she had put on the chair. I remember as I was folding the clothes, I was facing the wall, standing by the chair. And my house girl told me, "I have seen Baba Praise taking all the keys." By that time, my husband now was leaving the house. And I asked her, "Why do you have to tell me that he has taken all the keys?" My house girl was like, "He took all the keys, including my key that was on the dining, and he even took the spare key that was on the wall." And then I asked my house girl, "What is your problem? You know that is my husband." And I just felt like this house girl is getting into, this house help is getting into things that do not concern her. She seemed to be disturbed because she had never seen this. Anytime my husband stepped out, I could wake up to go and open the door for him, because he used to give me a call and tell me that he was coming. He never used to carry the key. So when he left, I remember time had really gone. By around 9 p.m., I decided to call him. I called him first time, second time, third time, and he never responded to my calls. So I decided to leave him a text message because the kids were already tired, eager to attend the wedding the next day, and they went to bed. My house help also had been with me, and she told me now she was going to bed. So I remained alone, and I also decided to go to bed. Now that I had alerted him, I was going to sleep. I remember he came, but I never knew that he was the one who came, because I came to realize he was the one when I felt something that was very painful and something warm on my face. This time I was already asleep. I just locked the door. I never put the padlock because he had carried the keys. When I went to our bedroom door, I just pushed the door, and I never used any lock or any padlock. So he accessed very easily because he's the one who had closed the gate, and the main gate and the other gate towards the door. Only the living room door that I pushed, and I just decided to leave it that way because he had carried the keys. It was easy for him to get into the house. This thing that I felt that was very warm, and I'm feeling pain when I touched using my hand, I never knew it was blood. At the back of my mind, I thought these were thieves who had broken into our house. And the easiest thing for me that time to do was to reach to our bedroom table and take my phone, call my husband, or send him a text message, tell him the thieves have come into our house, he should come. Something told me, can you just put on the bed switch? And I put on the bed switch, and then the light was on. When I looked up, I saw it was him, ready with a Maasai sword which had blood. And I asked him, so you are the one who was doing this to me? And he told me, I want us to die, all of us in this house. I asked him why. He never responded. And then I asked him for the second time, why are you doing this to me? He told me, today we are dying, all of us in this house. I want to kill you, kill the children, and then kill myself. So I thought it was a joke. He cut me on this side of my head, or of my face, when I was still sleeping, when he came in. Then now when I sat down, he cut me on the forehead using the same sword. And at this time, still I was like in denial, because I sat down and he continued cutting me now on my head. Like the way you can be cutting a potato. You're slicing a potato. That's what he was doing on my head. And the truth dawned into me that this person really wants to kill us. And first of all, he wants to kill me because he was doing it mercilessly. I decided to hide under the bed. While under the bed is when I remember he took his phone, and the first person he called was my mother-in-law, now his mother. He told his mother, I have killed your daughter-in-law. I want to kill my children and then kill myself, so you can prepare for graves. After that call, he called his employer, and he told his employer, can you look for another driver, because I've killed my wife, I want to kill the children and then kill myself. The final call was to my dad. I remember I even shivered when I was under the bed. He told my dad, and I knew it was my dad because they used to joke and call each other Mzee. He used to call my dad Mzee, and my dad could call him Mzee, telling him, even you will grow old one day. So he called him, Mzee, I have killed your daughter. I want to kill the granddaughters and then kill myself. My mother is preparing for graves. Can you prepare for coffins? Now at this time, while under the bed, I knew this is not a joke, because all these other time I was in denial. But this is a true thing. This is going to happen, and I have to be very keen, or else we are going to die, all of us. I decided I will not shout, I will not cry. I pretended I was dead. He opened the bedroom door, and the good thing, because I pretended I was dead, he forgot to close the door behind him. He went to the kitchen, took a knife. He was using a sword on me. Now he took a knife. The next thing I hear is my daughters shouting for help. My firstborn daughter praise shouted and said, "Owi, Daddy, usituwe. Please, Daddy, don't kill us." I didn't wait for her to shout for the second time. And I decided I'm going to come out of my hiding place, and I would rather die than my children. So I went to my children's bedroom, At this time, my house girl had found a spare key in my handbag, and she had already walked out and she was making calls. And good thing was my sister and my brother-in-law were not living very far from us. So by the time I got to check on my children when they asked for help, my sister and my brother-in-law arrived. I remember when he saw me, he asked me, "Yani wewe haujakufa bado, so you are pretending you're not dead," as he was pointing me using that knife. I remember he shivered and then the knife fell down. My sister and my brother-in-law did not even talk to him, even a single word. They took the children, and I remember my brother-in-law telling me to follow them. He never knew how much I had been cut, how much I had overbled. So I tried to support myself on the wall, but it was not possible. He came and got hold of me, and he told me, "You pretended that we were dead. Now I want to kill you. We are going to die, both of us, in this house." I remember when he made me stand and I leaned on the wall. He forced me to lean on the wall, and he took the sword that he was using on me, and now he wanted to cut my neck. I remember I blocked using my hand. This is where, first of all, he cut. So he used the sword, and I remember when I was being taken to hospital, this part of my hand was just hanging down, and he cut me all the way down. I'm fitted with metal plates, because he was just cutting me the way you can just cut something, you don't care what will happen. And I think my brother-in-law just remembered when he looked around, he saw that I was not in their company. It was at this time now my brother-in-law requested one of the neighbors to accompany him, because all this time the neighbors had me shouting for help, but everyone took it like to be normal, what they were telling me. I don't know what is normal in domestic violence, but they were saying it was normal. These people, they love one another. Even in the morning, they left for work together, and we don't know what has happened. These people never fight. So no one came to my rescue. Until now, my brother-in-law requested one of the neighbors to accompany him. When this neighbor accompanied him, my brother-in-law came in together with him, and then he took the sword and he cut my brother-in-law on his hand. My brother-in-law left. When my brother-in-law was leaving, now this other man tells him, "You are not going to kill her." I remember he pierced my right side breast. And this man now was angry. And he told him, "Try it again. And we are also going now. I'm going to mobilize people, and we are also going to beat you up." And then he got hold of me and helped me to walk out. I remember as I was going out to be taken to the dispensary, he told me, "You go die in the hospital. I'm going to die in this house."